Hello everybody, welcome to Calls. This is the 2023 RBC Canadian Open Initial Research Show. That's right, we are ready for the week before the US Open. First off, hopefully you had a very successful Memorial over this past weekend. One shout out that I have is to my friend Dave, who hit the top 10 on Denny McCarthy. I was giving him a little hell today, thinking that he should have probably bet the outright win on him, but it ends up working out perfectly for him. So congratulations, Dave, on your top 10 hit on Denny McCarthy. And if you had success for the Memorial, please jump into chat or let me know via social media. Would love to be able to shout out other members of the community that have success. For yours truly, I had a very, very big sweat coming in to Sunday. A win ticket on Keegan Bradley, who was 2 shots back. I had a top 20 lineup in a GPP. No, it wasn't the pitch and putt, but I did have a lineup that was in the top 20 going into this afternoon, and it fell apart. Sung Jae did not play well. Yes, I ended up rostering Sung Jae a little bit. Wyndham Clark and his double bogey on 18 really cost me. Just couldn't get enough guys moving up the leaderboard with Denny McCarthy and who was the other? Siwoo Kim. So those were the 2 standouts for me in that lineup. So that lineup ended up coming into the top 200. It was still a successful lineup, but overall, another Sunday that doesn't go my way. It's starting to be a theme, and I'm trying not to get discouraged, as I had a lot of things correct for the Memorial, just did not break my way. But if you had the outright on Victor, if you had a lot of success in DFS, please let me know. Would love to be able to shout you out. But we turn our attention to Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and the Canadian Open. So let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from fantasynational.com. It is the best tool out there for your money. It's going to make you a much smarter gambler and a much better golf DFS player. Go check them out. It is simply well worth your investment. In the description to the video, there are links to a lot of social media now. First and foremost, my social media, Twitter and Instagram, where I generally post research on Mondays for the PGA tournament of the week. It's going to be pretty difficult to do that, as we will discuss here after the intro, that the course is brand new. So might have to just focus on the players in the field this week. Not my preferred way of research or method of research, but is what it is with a brand new course. No historical data to go off of. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do for the PGA Tour, give me a follow over at Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is also where I place my betting cards weekly for the PGA Tour. I do this every Wednesday night after the DFS Tactics show. So if you want to see my weekly betting card, give me a follow over there. And then Twitter is also where I post my daily 3 up, 3 down. Although did have not planned, but ended up taking this weekend off. It was a very busy weekend for me. Was going to post my picks for Friday, ended up forgetting, and then Saturday had baseball game, and the weekend got away from me. But that will return tomorrow. So if you want to see some quick hitting baseball content, give me a follow over at Twitter. And then now also at the very bottom of the description, I have put Gabe's Twitter handle in the description. I highly suggest you go give him a follow. His article is a great way to start your weekly research. And as we will talk about at the very beginning, it allowed me to have what little success I did have for the Memorial, considering I was pretty all in on Jason Day, and then learned in Gabe's chat that Jason Day was dealing with injury. So if you want to have a very solid start to your weekly research. Consider giving Gabe a follow, and Wednesday evenings after the DFS Tactics show, I will be joining him in his chat over on Substack to continue DFS questions and whatnot. So again, consider giving him a follow. Consider subscribing to his article. It's a very good read. And we are generally pretty active, especially on a Wednesday evening for DFS. And then finally, for this elongated intro, we are live. Chat is open. Definitely want to hear from you all. How was your Memorial? Did you have a lot of things correct? Again, I felt like I was pretty solid on a lot of things. Fading Corey Connors, Xander Schauffele being the lowest in the 10Ks. I was not nearly high enough on Scotty Scheffler, admittedly. I thought Victor was fairly intriguing. Wyndham Clark I gave a little bit of attention to. Was very high on Siwoo Kim. So let me know, or jump into chat, let me know how your Memorial went and what you are looking forward to for Oakdale. How much do you know of Oakdale? All I know is what I've been able to gather in research today. Who do you think has the upper hand early on this week in your research or in your thoughts as who's going to prevail at Oakdale? All that good stuff. So let's do our initial research for the 2023 Canadian Open. And we are going to start over at the GCSA tournament fact sheet. But I'm going to have to fill in a little bit of the blanks, if you will. So we are in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Oakdale Golf and Country Club. Here, the first conflicting information that I have seen, and again, apologies, I'm going to center this camera just a little bit. This is listed at the GCSA as a par 72, and let me see if I can zoom out. Now that made it worse. There we go. It's listed as a par 72 on the GCSA tournament fact sheet. There are other places, and I believe the official scorecard might list it as a par 71. It is all being around the 18th hole. So the first interesting note on Oakdale is that it's actually a 27-hole property in Toronto. They are combining a few holes from all three courses to route the championship this week. I'm going to have to approach this as a par 72. It very well may be a par 71, and I will definitely try to iron that out by tomorrow's data dive show. But you see the listed yardage, 7,264 yards. For a par 71 or par 72, it's pretty average length. Obviously, if it's a par 72, it's going to be a little bit on the shorter end, but we're not going to be looking at any short course or long course metrics. It's pretty right there in the middle, close to 7,300 yards. The greens are a combination of bent grass and Poa Anna, as opposed to earlier this year, thinking the match play, the Valspar, those were Bermuda and Poa Trivialis. This is bent and Poa Anna combination. And again, thanks to Gabe, I have been able to gather those three courses, or there are three courses on the PGA Tour consistently that have this green complex, if you will, the combination of bent and Poa, and we'll get into that when we go to Fantasy National. The fairways are bent. Does not look like it's going to list the rough, but my guess is that it is an overseed of some sort. Nothing to do with architect. You see the original architect, Stanley Thompson, most recently renovated by Ian Andrew in 2018. And the note here regarding specifically around that renovation, he's overseen the removing of trees, restoring bunkers to make it more in line with the original architect's vision of the course. So not a whole lot of information around Oakdale. This is the first time Oakdale is going to be used in a professional environment. So very anxious to see how it's going to play. I know there is some excitement around some of the Twitter community as they are from Toronto, so and it's their home course, their home club, so they're looking forward to it. But that is what I have for you all in terms of the RBC Canadian Open and Oakdale from a GCSAA tournament fact sheet. Par 72 is what I'm going to have to approach this as. It could be a par 71. Pretty middling in terms of yardage, just under 7,300. Bent grass and Poa Anna greens. We do not know the speeds of the greens, and from what I have gathered, the little bit of information that I've seen, it appears that these greens are fairly small. And there's 5 holes with water. There are 5 holes on the route that the championship has of water in play. I went through Pro Visualizer to count those holes. If you would like to see that, put it in the comments or jump into chat later this evening. I don't plan on bringing up Pro Visualizer, but if there's enough interest, I can do that or take a look at the course tomorrow. So if you would like to see that, give me or let me know in the comments. But there's a look at Oakdale from a GCSAA tournament fact sheet standpoint. And because of that, because this is the first year that we are seeing Oakdale, there's going to be no course breakdown to take a look at in terms of in Fantasy National. I've done that via Pro Visualizer. Obviously, there's going to be no tournament history to look at, considering this is the first year that it's been played. Now, there is some tournament history data just because it has been the Canadian Open, but this has not been at Oakdale. Of course, last year was at St. George's. Glen Abbey used to host the Canadian Open annually, so nothing to do in terms of tournament history. So no early look file either for the week. So we're really going to be looking at a brand new course and some brand new data to try and figure out where we're going to want to put our focus this week. So it's going to be a unique challenge, but one that I am generally pretty comfortable doing, in all honesty. And of course, nothing to do with historical course conditions, considering, again, this is the first year we are seeing Oakdale. So let's just take a quick look at some of the players in the field this week, and there have been a few withdrawals already. So let me cover those for you all. The 5 names that I have seen that are not in the field this week, that originally signed up and then have already withdrawn: Troy Merritt, Dylan Fratelli, Stefan Yeager, Philip Knowles, and Davis Riley are the 5 names that I have seen that are not going to play this week at the Canadian Open. But some other names here that, as of right now, are in the field: Terrell Hatton, Justin Rose, Tommy Fleetwood, Ben On, coming off a fairly successful Memorial, I would say, Seth Tagala, Nikolai Højgaard, Fitzpatrick, of course, Corey Connors, probably going to be the betting favorite or close to it, being a Canadian himself. Rory is your technical defending champion from last year at St. George's. There were a few other names here: Shane Lowry, let's see, I believe there were a couple others, but those Sam Burns here. So a few big names here for the Canadian Open. Certainly not the level of a designated event like the Memorial. Certainly not to the level of the field strength that you will have next week for the U.S. Open, but by no means an alternate field quality field either, or alternate event quality field. Some of the bigger names are here this week. In this calendar year, your top total performers that are still in the field this week: Tyrrell Hatton, Justin Rose, Eric Cole, Tommy Fleetwood, Ben On, Matt Kuchar, Dylan Wu, Nick Taylor, Sahith Theegala, and Sam Stevens. Those are your top 10 in terms of total performance. Let's see. We can go ahead and take a look at putting. And I am going to look at some specific courses. The first one is Detroit Golf Club, which is the home of the Rocket Mortgage. So gosh dang it, I knew that would happen. So this is going to be a little bit difficult since I need to select specific courses. So we have Detroit, the first course. The second, that is a regular on the PGA Tour that we see that has both, or is classified bent and Poa annua, Silverado, which is the home of the Fortinet. And then the third and final is TPC River Highlands, the host of the Travelers. So those three courses are the PGA mainstays that have bent and Poa annua. So you see I'm going to have to expand the timeline here. We're going to go back to the beginning of 2021. And no, this is not, or KNOW, know that this is not a lot of data, but it's what we have. And I might go back a little bit further as we get closer to making the mixed condition model. But this is just to give you an idea of the best putters in recent years on this surface. So going back to the beginning of 2021, your best putters on courses that are labeled as bent and Poa annua. No idea on speed, so we're not going to have any speed filter this week, just purely based on bent and Poa annua. Your top putters have been Vincent Whaley, Adam Long, Austin Cook, Richie Wierenski, Michael Thor Bjornsson, Bryce Garnett, Mackenzie Hughes, Mark Hubbard, Sung Kang, CT Pan. Skipping Troy Merritt, skipping Stefan Jaeger. They have both withdrawn already. So there's a look at your top putters on the surface that is listed at the GCSAA tournament fact sheet. So when we move forward through the week, I might expand this out a little bit. This is just to give you a good idea on where to start for putting. Let's go ahead and take a look at strokes gained approach. And I want to bring back all courses. So your top strokes gained approach players in the field this week since the beginning of this calendar year. Those players have been Justin Rose, Tyrrell Hatton, Akshay Bhatia, Corey Connors, Nate Lashley, Rory, Eric Cole, Ben Martin, Kevin Roy, and Scott Piercy. Again, nothing to do with course length. This is generally right smack dab in the middle, and I don't like using the 72 to 7400 filter in terms of course length. We will check wind tomorrow, so perhaps some wind might be in the forecast. I always start Monday with that. Nothing to do with architect. So generally speaking, that is we stop there and try to go to the course breakdown or the tournament history. Instead, we'll have to jump around a little bit, but I'm going to take you to Microsoft Excel. And this is the whole composition based on the official scorecard. And the interesting thing with Oakdale, as of right now, again, I'm still treating it as a par 72. It's a par 72 with 3 par 3s and 3 par 5s. So you have a lot of par 4s on this course. In fact, you have 7 par 4s on the front 9 alone. So that number is only going to rise. We could have another par 4 here if indeed the par 5 18th indeed plays to a par 4. So let's go through a little bit of this scorecard here for the Canadian Open this year at Oakdale. The first 6 holes on the course are all par 4s. And you see the majority of these par 4s are pretty darn short. You've got 5 that measure from 350 to 4 throughout the routing of the 18. You have 3 from 400 to 450 and 4 from 450 to 5. So pretty short par 4s is what you need to be thinking about for the Canadian Open to start your research this week. And the first 6 holes are par 4s. Starts out with a 379 and a 384. So the first 2 holes of the tournament, 379, 384. Then you jump into your all 4 of your long par 4s are holes 3 through 6. 489, 470, 463, and 473. So in that order, so you have 2 short par 4s to start, and then all 4 of the long par 4s are holes 3 through 6. Hole 7 is 590-yard par 5. Then you have another very short par 4 at 354. So you can see that easily going into the 0 to 350 range, to be honest with you. And then the 9th is one of the par 3s at 193. So if you would like to see those individually, let me know, and I will be happy to type those out for you. But the front 9 listed as a par 36 with only 1 par 3 and only 1 par 5. Then on the back 9, a more traditional setup, at least from what I have seen, par 36 on the back 9, 2 par 3s, 2 par 5s. The other par 3s, you see we've got one short one at 172. We also have a fairly long par 3 at 208. The 18th hole, right now, I have seen as a par 5 that's at 496 yards. I would not be surprised if that is indeed a par 4 at 496. So very well could be looking at a 5th par 4 in the 450 to 5, but I'll try to find that information or narrow down or what's the word I'm looking for? Nail down the exact yardage or par that the Canadian Open is going to play to. And then the other par 5 on the back measures to 553. So to begin our research this week, it looks like we're going to have a lot of emphasis on par 4s. Particularly short par 4s would be my guess. Another thing, as I was looking through some research and going through Pro Visualizer earlier today around Oakdale, looks like the fairways are tree lined. Looks like it can be accessible, but not necessarily wide open. Hopefully that it makes a little bit of sense. It's not necessarily that the fairways are extremely narrow. There is some width to them, but they are tree lined, so if you are quite wayward, looks like you could have some problems. But that's a look at the whole composition based on the scorecard. Now, when you go to Pro Visualizer, and this is the estimated proximity, the 200 plus is right behind my big head there. So let's see if I can change it just a little bit to get out from behind me. Perhaps there? Yeah, that'll work. All right. The 3 par 5s are all listing 3-shot holes. And while one of them probably will play as a true 3-shot par 5, that would be the par 5 7th. It is an uphill par 5 at 590. It is conceivable that for professionals, especially the 496-yard par 5, that the 2 other par 5s would mandate a 200-plus approach. So just be aware that even though you see a bevy of 75 to 100-yard approach shots, this is factoring in all of the par 5s being 3-shotters. Having said that, you see there are a ton of 75 to 100-yard approaches here at Oakdale, estimated by Pro Visualizer. And that's just due to the sheer amount, again, of these very, very short par 4s. 5 of them from 350 to 4. A couple of them do have some water in play, so a player is going to have to determine if they want to try to take on the water, carry the water, or play to a 3-wood or long iron and set themselves up with a medium length approach shot. Even so, you still have quite a few very short holes or very short approach shots. I am seeing this course kind of play like the John Deere. Kind of seems like it's going to be a wedge fest. So I think the scoring is going to be pretty low as long as you're in the fairway. Now these bunkers do seem to be pretty deep. So that could offer some defense that the course has. We'll see about the wind again tomorrow. But you see this estimated proximity per Pro Visualizer. A lot of wedges, seemingly 75 to 100, 100 to 125, and so on for our estimated proximity. So I'm going to save that. And we're going to go back on over to Fantasy National. And let's take a look at a couple of different things. And again, this is all going to be speculation. But one of the first things, if fairways are going to be pretty important, let's just see who finds fairways the most in the field this week. So your top fairways gained players this calendar year: Ryan Armour, Adam Long, Aaron Rye, Lucas Glover, Ryan Moore, Brendan Todd, Tyler Duncan, David Lingworth, Zach Blair, and Ches Reavie. So there's your top fairways gained players this calendar year. No filters, nothing like that. Just flat out who finds the most fairways. Proximity, we'll take a quick look. Let's just look at 75 to 100. We can kind of take a look across all 3 of these shorter yardages. But I think the shorter the proximity, the more attention I want to pay to it. So this calendar year, your top proximity players from 75 to 100, Russell Knox, Austin Cook, Ben Martin, Ryan Armour, Ryan Moore, Brendan Todd, David Lipsky, coming off a pretty darn successful Memorial himself, Trevor Werblio, Matthias Schwab, and Aaron Wise. Again, skipping Troy Merritt, he has withdrawn. So, in terms of all 3 of these short yardage proximities, Russell Knox stands out. First, 34th, and 23rd. That's pretty darn solid in terms of a field of 100 and... Well, this is listing 67 because it's adding the alternates. I believe the field is at 156. So, pretty darn solid in terms of all 3 proximities. Ben Martin is elite at all three of these short yardage approaches from 75 to 150, 2nd, 9th, and 11th. David Lipsky, 8th, 49th, and 28th. 49th is a little bit middling, but still fairly solid, I suppose. Hankley Biota, also fairly decent at all three. Nate Lashley, good at 1, maybe even great at 1, and good, I suppose, at the 2 others. So there's a few of the names there to take put a star next to, or to consider early on this week in terms of proximity when you're looking for some players that might be best with their wedges. And then last thing we can look at, let's take a look at just short par 4s. We'll go 350 to 4. So your top par 4 performers from 350 to 400 yards in the field this week: Vincent Norman, Harry Hall, Kramer Hickok, Alex Smalley, Cody Gribble, Akshay Bhatia, Nikolai Højgaard, Luke List, Cameron Young, Lonto Griffin, and Eric Cole. So generally we would move to Microsoft Excel and the early look file and take a look at who has played well at this course and whatnot. But with this being the first year that this course is being seen, that's all I have for you tonight. Quite a bit of a shorter show, but with no prior years played, we're going to be just kind of speculating on how the course is going to play. And of course, I have a lot more research to do for you all tomorrow in terms of narrowing down or finalizing what the actual par is going to set to. And then with no prior leaderboards to look at, perhaps we are going to go page view by page view and take a look at everything in terms of par 3 lengths, par 4 lengths, par 5s. We could also perhaps tomorrow take a look at some of the courses that have the similar surface. We're talking TPC River Highlands and the Travelers, Detroit Golf Club and the Rocket Mortgage, Fortinet Silverado. We can perhaps try to compare those courses, see if they are par 72s at this length and how the around the green and the putting looks. We could probably do some of that tomorrow, but a little bit of a shorter show tonight, and we have a lot of things to think about and consider moving into tomorrow for whenever the odds come out. We'll also take a look at Wind Finder, see if there's any wind in the forecast and all that stuff. But that's going to do it for the initial research tonight. In fact, let me, actually I closed it. Let me bring that up for you all one more time, and I'll leave you all off on the whole composition chart. I think would probably be the best for you all moving into your beginning week research. Let's see, I want to bring that in there. So there's a look at the whole composition. Again, the possibility still exists that this par 5 needs to come into here. So do be aware of that. Could be a par 71, but I will try to narrow that down by tomorrow's show. But that's going to do it for the initial research for this evening. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, supporting the channel. I always appreciate it. In the comments, if you know much about Oakdale, feel free to share. Would love to hear what you know about. And then let me know how your memorial went. Hopefully it was much better than mine, even though I had a lot correct. Just did not have the right players together in a lineup. I had a couple of 6-6s, but did not have Scheffler with McCarthy, didn't have Hovland with Kim and whatnot. Just didn't have the right combination of players. So hopefully you had a successful Memorial and a good weekend in general. And thanks for the support. So for all the wagers you made this past week for the Memorial, for all the DFS contests you entered this past week for the Memorial, and until I see you tomorrow night for the Data Dive show, may all your bets be profitable.